Terrible. Okay, here's what happened. Imagine this glass is my Samsung S22 Plus. It's sitting in my pocket right here. Look, phones get dropped all the time. This little mishap, it's one of life's great random events. One I could have no way predicted or prevented. At least that's what I'm saying in my email to Samsung. But it does reiterate one thing, and that is your phone is never ever impervious to falls. No matter how many numbers or Latin words are at the end of that Gorilla Glass name. Whoa, I almost broke it again. Always get yourself a case. I didn't, and now I look like a fool. Anyway, with my chances of ever getting a review unit from Samsung ever again absolutely shattered, I'm here to answer this one question. Should you buy the S22 Plus? Over the past 3 weeks that I've been using it, the S22 Plus has slipped into my life as seamlessly as it slipped out of my pocket and onto the road. Look, it hasn't wowed me, but it also hasn't ridiculously angered me in any way. It's kind of just been doing phone stuff, and it's been doing it well. There is a word for that. It's boring. But why is that? It's got an amazing screen, top of the line specs, 5G, an amazing camera system. It's pretty much got everything in a phone that you could ask for, right? Well, yeah, it's because we saw a lot of this in the S21 just last year. Also, side note, I've got the S22 Plus here, but it is very similar to the S22. There's no difference in what it can do besides a slightly bigger battery and screen, so everything I say here does kind of apply to the S22 as well. Ultimately, it just kind of means there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff to talk about with these phones. For example, how's the design? Yeah, good. It looks a lot like last year's, and I love last year's. How about the processor? That one is new, and it's also really good. Here's a benchmark test if that sort of thing interests you, and you can see it's pretty much one of, if not the best, Android phone out there right now. Anecdotally, and without getting too technical, yeah, it basically opens everything instantly and you can just switch between apps as much as you like. The battery is kind of interesting in that it's gotten worse than last year. This is because the phone overall is slightly smaller than last year's model, so it's got a smaller battery, which is kind of at odds with that brighter screen. I've been using the Galaxy Z Flip since September. This thing dies so quickly. It's kind of crazy to go back to a phone that can last longer than a day. But once I did get used to a normal battery again, I was whelmed. I was whelmed by the battery life of this thing. Not overwhelmed, just regular whelmed. Did I make that up or is that a thing? I'm not going to Google it. You can. Tell me in the comments. The battery's certainly still good on this. It could last about 2 days when I wasn't using this for reviewing purposes, so just using it like a regular phone. When I was testing it, or when I was using apps that kept the screen on, like the GPS, the camera, watching videos, that's when it was time to bust out the battery bank because, yeah, it would die within a day. Of course, battery use is pretty subjective to how you use your phone, but we do have scientific battery tests here at Finder. You can read more about those in the description. Let's talk about the screen. It's super bright. It maxes out at 1750 nits, which is very impressive, but ultimately a little unnecessary. The 1300 nits the S21 Plus can output will do just fine. It also runs at 120 Hz, but only when it needs to. It does get as low as 48 Hz when you don't need all that smooth scrolling motion. By doing so, it'll conserve the battery a bit more. There is one thing that I think is pretty interesting about this phone. Can you tell what it is by the way I'm holding it? Yeah, it's the camera. Alright, here's a collection of shots I took over the past few weeks. The wide and ultra wide just pull so much weight. They're gorgeous no matter what you're pointed at. The 3x telephoto though is a bit less impressive. It gets the shot, but it was rarely something I was happy with, at least compared to the other two. I like this photo of these dogs though. Yeah, maybe with the right light it does alright. It does have that classic Samsung over-sharpened, over-vibrant look, which some people love, but I cannot stand. But you know what? Samsung know what they're doing here. This vibe lends itself to sharing. You can very quickly snap a shot and post it, knowing that it's going to be at least a little bit striking. Nightography, or as we say in the biz, night photography, was a big part of Samsung's launch around these phones, and it does alright, but still has varying results.
Like, it's not magic. You still need to hold the camera fairly still so the shutter can spend its time capturing the image.
Same with portraits actually. I know they made a big deal about being able to separate your hairs from the background when doing portrait mode so you can get that blurry background. That's just not true. I'm having a terrible time with this. Samsung, do you expect me to comb my hair? I am wearing a hat right now for a reason. Look at this. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Now, if you're a hobbyist or pro photographer, good news. Samsung's Expert RAW app can be downloaded to the S22 Plus from the Galaxy Store.
And I reckon this could be the thing that makes the S22 lineup worth it for photographers.
The app itself is pretty basic and gives you similar options to the Pro mode in the main camera app. You have actually been able to take RAW photos on most Android phones for years, but this app seems to have a little bit more going on under the hood. You can see the difference here. You get similar file sizes, but the actual photo has a lot more computational photography behind it. It also has this button that immediately lets you edit the photo in Lightroom Mobile, which I absolutely love. Now to video, and I'll switch to the phone so you can see and hear what it's like. This is kind of what it's like in a curated lit setting, but I think it works really well pretty much everywhere. For people who just like making videos or do it professionally, this phone is really, really good. I even used a few shots of 4K from this phone in my last couple of videos, and unless you're a big video nerd, it's barely noticeable. This was just the best camera for the job that I had on me at the time. The stabilization is also amazing. Like here I'm on a boat in mildly choppy ocean, but you wouldn't be able to tell the boat was rocking. I did notice sometimes the stabilization can overshoot when you're tracking left to right, and then it kind of needs to snap back into place. But most of the time it's as smooth as a smooth jazz. Smooth as a baby's bottom. It's a smooth criminal. It's smooth. It's very smooth. FM. What's happening? It does also do 8K video, which I just switched to. You might have noticed it cropped in a little bit. It's also only 24 frames per second. And overall, it just looks a little bit worse than the 4K stuff. I don't know, unless you're making a movie on this for some reason, I'm not really sure you need to touch the 8K mode. It's just a surefire way to fill up your hard drive with unnecessarily big footage. Really, it's just here to make the phone seem cooler than it is. Also, that 8K section took me about 2 minutes to shoot, and the phone is weirdly warm after doing that. Overall, for photographers and video creators, yeah, the S22 lineup could be the perfect phone for you. But once again, all of these older phones will have access to the Expert RAW app by mid this year. Additionally, and this is pretty common with a lot of high-end phones now, there is no expandable storage on the S22 lineup, and I think that's a huge missed opportunity if they're trying to entice over photographers and videographers. At the end of the day, if you're taking a lot of RAW photos or 4K footage or 8K footage if you're deranged, then this is going to fill up quickly.
And this phone only gets up to 256 gigs of hard drive space. At least the Ultra can get up to 1 terabyte, but whoo boy, that is one spicy price.
So, should you buy the S22 Plus? This is probably one of the best phones ever made, and I think that's pretty safe to say. But I don't think many people need to buy it. For photographers, if you're looking for something that can occasionally stand in for an actual camera, then this could definitely be the choice for you. But the S22 Ultra is the one with the better camera system, and even the older Ultras have a better camera system and still get that RAW app. Oh, and they're getting cheaper. This is a powerhouse of a camera. There are just better options. For everyone else, if it's time to upgrade your phone, then this will not let you down. Samsung are going to support it for over 4 years. But the S21 is almost the exact same phone. It's cheaper, and the battery is actually better. I would recommend looking into S21 sales before going out and buying one of these. And as always with these flagships, if you don't need that epic processing power and you just take photos for social media and fond memories, you'll probably be happy with something a lot cheaper. I reviewed 2 phones that fit that very description right here. I think they're great. Check it out.